Hey, all, welcome to our class. It's a pleasure to have you here. So this is Global Climate Change 270. And well, more than anything, I wanted to welcome you and go through just kind of a quick introduction. So you're going to get really used to this format of me talking to a camera. Usually there'll be some sort of images and things like that. A lot of times I'll have a whiteboard. But this is kind of the main format of the class and how I'm going to convey information to you. So to start, my name is Anders Sundell. I'm a geology professor here at College of Western Idaho. I've been here since 2009, which I don't wear a watch, but it's getting up there, right? I've been here for quite a while. And more than anything, I wanted to welcome you to our climate change class. So a little bit about myself. Like I said, I have my master's degree in structural geology, but in my education, really focusing a lot on kind of rocks and the solid earth and how that works. But in parallel to that, you do learn a lot about Earth system and Earth system science, and in particular climate and atmospheric science. So I'm kind of really happy to dive into this material and go through it with you. I've got a couple of kids. I've got two boys, a wife, wonderful house, all those sorts of things. So, pretty busy. I'm still at the phase of life where there's lots of soccer practice and swimming lessons and, trips to the bus stop and all of that good stuff. But let's go ahead and talk about the class. And so I don't want to spend too much time going through this material. There's a syllabus and a syllabus quiz that you'll go through that'll take care of kind of those nuts and bolts. And those things, sometimes change a little bit from semester to semester, usually from the institution. But what you're going to see is that this class is going to take place online. And the main place where you're going to find our weekly content is going to be in the assignments tab. And so the overarching kind of cycle that we'll get really used to is that almost all of the content opens, early Monday morning. And that week's content, everything that's in that folder, you're responsible to turn it in at midnight, 11:59 and 59 seconds on Sunday. There are a couple of exceptions to that, a few assignments and then exams, but those will be outlined pretty specifically and I'll send messages out. So when you click into your assignments tab, what you'll see is there'll be a folder for each week. You'll see all the past folders, but each week that new one will open up and it'll be labeled, module 8 for week 8 of the semester. And there'll be the primary content is going to be in the form of videos and quizzes. So videos much like this, and then each one has a short 5-point quiz that goes along with the video. And the secret is all of the questions to the quiz are answered in the video. So essentially, what I expect that you're doing as a student is watching the video, following along, kind of answering the questions as they come up. So it should be fairly easy to get all the points for the videos and video quizzes. That's a really sneaky way for me to just make sure you watch the videos and get the material that we're discussing. And then another thing that I think is really important in this class is I've cobbled together quite a few different readings. And they are, I don't know, here's a book laying right here. It's not the one I'm currently reading. It's got a bookmark in it. I usually find things that are outside of the textbook and include those readings using the fair use policy, which means I can use a chapter and give that to you guys. The format of those reading quizzes is, again, straightforward, and it's going to take a second to get used to them. So you'll have the reading, and I'll provide that to you as a PDF, and you'll do the reading. I assume that you've done the reading beforehand, and then there'll be a quiz associated with that. Here's the tricky part, though. The quizzes are timed, although they're open book. So the key is I assume that you've done the reading, and for each quiz, I have a pool of about 6 questions. The computer will randomly select 2, so the students will all get different groups of questions. And the question will be addressed in the reading, but if you've done the reading, you'll be able to flip back through if you print it or scroll back through if you're using your computer screen and find the answer. We'll talk more specifically about how the grades of those work out. This isn't necessarily the time for that. There's also a variety of assignments that we're going to have. We may not have these every week, but if we do have them that week, there'll be a folder within your module labeled assignments, and it'll have an assignment in there. Most weeks, but again, not all week, we'll do discussion board posts. And so if that particular week's folder has a link for a discussion board post, then you'll be responsible for that. And then also we'll have some exams. I think we've got 5 exams scheduled. I can kind of modify that a little bit as I see fit, but I've been pretty happy with the number 5. I don't see that changing in the immediate future. If it does, of course, I'll communicate that to you. And we can, again, kind of save the discussion of the exams. They're all formatted the same way. I give you some practice materials to go through, so you're not just going in raw. And then now I want to kind of back out a little bit more. So you're going to look at the syllabus with the syllabus quiz. We've got weekly videos, the little embedded quizzes. You've got a reading and a reading quiz almost each week. Sometimes during exam week, I give you some time off. Assignments, which are variable, discussion board posts, and exams, right? So those are kind of the 5 main places where you're going to be getting points. The next thing I wanted to talk about in our intro video is climate science, right? So climate science is unique in the sciences in that, well, I guess it's not unique. We're going to learn a lot about this in the first couple of weeks. But there is essentially like no disagreement within the scientific community and the general community that climate change and human-caused or anthropogenic climate change exists. The data for it is unequivocal, right? So it's incredibly straightforward. The source of these kind of social distrust of science, that's also really straightforward and really well documented. And so we're actually going to explore a little bit of that in the first couple of weeks of the class, just to get ourselves kind of put into the framework of what climate science is. And then happily actually kind of leave that in the dust. And we move on, and we're going to spend the semester really talking about what the climate is, how the climate works, what things or how energy interacts with the climate, what things affect the way that energy is interacting, things that happen, ways that happens naturally, ways that happens in an anthropogenic sense. I'm going through the syllabus in my head right now. Then we talk about kind of mitigation, adaptation, kind of what are some of the things that we can do about this? What are some of the ways that we can think of, solving these large kind of global problems? We'll kind of get into the politics in a sense, not kind of like the political discussion, like Facebook message board sort of thing, but really, what sort of government political philosophies can solve climate change and what ways they do that. And we'll explore, Americans, we as Americans have a pretty kind of specific structure of politics. We have, generally this 2-party system. But we'll look at that, right? So there's kind of a conservative way to solve some of these problems, and there's more of a progressive way to solve some of those problems. The reality is, we probably need, things kind of coming from all sides. But those are some of the concepts we'll be exploring in the teens, right? In weeks, 11, 12, 13, kind of closer towards the end of the semester. But really, what I wanted to say, kind of wrapping up this concept, is that we will talk about the controversial nature, but we're going to kind of expose that and explore that. And then we're going to spend the rest of the semester kind of talking about the physics and chemistry of climate change, and what this means kind of in a scientific sense. The next thing I wanted to talk about is chemistry, actually. So I know we're all coming at this class from different places. Some of you may be science majors, geology majors, geography majors, physics majors, or chemistry majors, I guess. But we are going to have kind of a basic understanding of how chemistry works, because we're going to be talking about atmospheric chemistry a lot. But lucky for us, we don't have to go too deep, right? So we can just kind of look at some of the basics of chemistry, kind of how molecules come together, how they interact with energy, how energy is transferred through some molecules and stored in some molecules. So this later on this week, one of the further videos that you'll see as a little chemistry primer just to kind of get us thinking about it. But there's definitely no chemistry prerequisite, and I keep it all very simple. Fundamentally, when we start thinking about the carbon cycle, which we'll talk about, it's going to involve some chemistry, right? But again, nothing that you need a prerequisite, right? I can explain it pretty basically, hopefully. So what we're going to do week 1 is we're getting a feel for ourselves, right? We're getting a feel for the class. So it's not going to be an incredibly heavy week. You're not going to have a reading week 1. We'll have our first reading assignment week 2. So I'll give you at least this week to get your feet under you. What I would like to do this week, as we're just getting a feeling for our climate class, is actually talk about where the climate came from. We have one. You can kind of we'll look out the window here, and I can see it's kind of a hazy day, fairly warm. We broke a record yesterday. That happens from time to time. What does that mean? Well, we'll talk about some of that stuff in this class. But what I wanted to do was kind of flex my geology muscle a little bit and actually talk about, the formation of the Earth, and then the formation of the atmosphere and the development of the climate. And then we can kind of move on from there, right? So I feel like that's a really good place to start. So those are some of the themes that you'll see week 1. Again, just kind of checking through my notes here. All right, well, I don't want to waste too much more of your time. So again, all of these questions were addressed, all of the questions that you'll see in the quiz were addressed in these videos. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started on making the next little bit of content. Like I said, later my videos will be much kind of better produced. Like I said, whiteboards and things like that. But anyways, it's nice to meet you. Again, my name is Ander. You can just call me Ander. If you go to my faculty information in Blackboard, there's an email Ander link anytime you need to get a hold of me. Office hours, that's listed in the syllabus. But frankly, I'm available all of the time. You can't always rely on it, right? So if you're trying to email me on Sunday about something really important, I might be out of town, or I might be, have some other field methods courses. We might be up in the mountains kind of looking at rocks or smashing rocks with hammers and writing about them, or whatever it is that we do. So I may not always be available to respond to you on the weekend immediately, but I'll get to you as quickly as I can. Another thing that I always like to mention to students is if you send me an email and you don't get a response within an amount of time that you see fit, just please email me again. I hope that doesn't happen, but occasionally things can get buried pretty far down. You maybe get 30 or 40 emails a day, and one may slip through. So there's absolutely no shame and no hard feelings if you say, "Excuse me, Ander, I emailed you 2 days ago and I haven't heard back." So please, I encourage you to just go ahead and send a follow-up if that's the case. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and move on. Yeah, I was trying to think of a couple of other things that I'd written down here, but you know what? We're gonna move into thinking about what is climate. We'll start talking about chemistry a little bit, formation of the Earth, evolution of Earth's atmosphere, and that will get us through week 1. So, all right, I'll catch up with you later, and I look forward to it. Good semester. All right, bye.